Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in here, Publicly Buzzed live on a Thursday night, getting ready to come at you. Dan is missing tonight. Dandy Savage will be returning for Feral Friday tomorrow night. He's missing out tonight. It's just going to be me hanging out, watching a little bit of testimony from today. Chris Albert on the stand, and we're going to be watching some cross from Yannetti. So yeah, come hang out, come chill, hit that like, share it out, coming at you.
Let's rock.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome in here. Publicly Buzzed Live is on the air. Thanks for coming in here. Let me make sure this refreshes the chat here so we can pop through. What's happening? Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. Again, Dan is not going to be joining me here tonight. He's working on his deck right now. So yeah, he wants to get that finished up, and I guess they were getting close. But yeah, he will be here tomorrow night for Feral Friday, hanging and banging. But tonight, folks, we are going to be watching a little bit of cross from the Karen Reed trial, of course, that was happening today. This thing is still absolute freaking madness. People are insane. X has been very interesting to say the least. I know Viv was in the chat just talking about that, getting the chat in here so I can talk to you guys as we watch along. But yeah, we're going to be watching the cross, and yeah, it was an interesting day. I don't agree with everything that's being said online particularly, and I also don't have a full opinion yet. But we're going to jump in here. One thing I want to show out the gate is just kind of funny. It's Yannetti being asked a question by journalist Grant Smith Ellis, I guess is how you would actually pronounce the dude's name. What I've coined the super dork outside of these trials. Hold on. This dude's absolutely insane. Coming in Yannetti out here. I guess this was leaving today.
Mr. Yannetti, were you hired before 10 a.m. on January 29th, 2022 by William Reed?
Sir, I only talk to the press. I'm sorry.
Sir, I only talk to the press. I'm sorry. What the hell? Dude, he gets roasted by everybody. Welcome in here. Thanks again. What are your thoughts on the trial that's happening currently right now? Do you sit exactly with where everyone else is online, or do you sit on this team or that team, or are you still waiting for everything to kind of come out? The craziest, it's the most interesting trial I've seen maybe yet since I've started covering true crime, because it's so decisive. All right, I've seen some very decisive stuff since I've come down the pike, if you will, but this one has been madness. But it's super interesting. But we're going to be going into, again, a little bit of, we'll probably watch the entire thing here of Chris Albert, the cross anyways, from Yannetti, from today, with Chris Albert. And some of the stuff people are bringing up, some of the stuff that people want to, I guess talking about maybe as a slam dunk, the pictures that we saw of him on the fence of John O'Keefe. Those pictures aren't that strange to me. And then the text to John O'Keefe, that's not that crazy either. I need more details than just that. Those to me have been cherry picked. And I know there's more stuff out there, and I know a lot of people are experts on this, but me particularly watching this, that's not the craziest stuff to me. Dan made a great point when we were talking earlier. If you looked at any of our texts, especially with some of our friends, you would think we were maniacs talking to each other. And these people definitely don't like each other. No, that's just dudes talking shit. But I would like a little bit more context, because I could see it two different ways. I'm going to pull this tweet up, because this was a great tweet. And I could see it two different ways. I could see this being a buddy type thing if they truly are buddies. I don't have the context to truly know that, the way they're trying to push it. But someone tweeted this, because I tweeted, "Is this a joke?" And I put the actual text in there. And somebody's comment underneath was, it was meant as a joke, but it's the kind typical of bullies that always believe their taunting is harmless fun. If you're annoyed by it, they will certainly follow up with, "You can't take a joke?" That is also another real possibility, and I can see that. I was actually more siding towards that when I initially had my conversation with Dan privately earlier. I was like, I could see this being a joke thing for one side, maybe, right? Maybe the other guy is in a position to where, he is a cop that is very close to this family. He lives on the same street as neighbors with his family. He's had issues with the kids, right? I mean, I could see this being a bullying type situation where he's like, especially if he's an anal type of person who doesn't want anybody to touch his shit, be on his lawn, fucking around with him. I could see those pictures as being like, what the fuck? They look like they're innocent, but I could also see the bully aspect from it as well. So I could see it two different ways. I thought that was a great, excellent comment that was coming through. Again, I all over the place today. I said this today. We have so much further to go with this Karen retrial. I'm not convinced either way. Once we get the experts involved, people are really going to melt down. And one thing, again, I am actually for sure about, the state going full ham on she meant to do this is crazy. I do not think that she meant to do this purposely whatsoever. That's absolute madness. But we're going to jump in here. Thanks for hanging out tonight. I appreciate it, guys. We're about to jump in here, get going. Hit the like, share it out. Thanks for hanging out. Sub up. Let's fucking go. I think I got this right. Let me get the sound going, first of all.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
A little loud.
Mr. Albert, you and I have never met, correct?
I don't believe so.
You've testified that you've essentially lived in Canton your whole life, correct?
Correct.
Moved there when you were 4 years old?
Correct.
And the house to which you and your family
I want some stuff like that, man.
34 Fairview, correct?
Yes.
You lived there for how long?
Andy.
33 years?
And you currently own D&E Pizza in Canton?
Correct.
I believe you testified that you've owned it for approximately 25 years?
Correct.
Clearly, you have a lot of ties to the city of Canton. Would you agree?
Sure.
You live there?
Yes.
You work there?
Yes.
You have family there?
Yep.
You raised your kids there?
Yep.
And you also are a town selectman in the city of Canton. Or
Recently elected.
the town of Canton, I should say.
It's a town. Correct.
And not only that, but your brother, Kevin Albert, is a police officer in Canton?
He is.
Your brother, Brian Albert, with whom you grew up, is currently retired, but had been a Boston police officer who lived in Canton, correct?
Correct.
You would agree with me that Brian Albert only moved from Canton after John O'Keefe was found dead on his front lawn, correct?
Can you rephrase that?
I'll phrase it the exact same way and ask for a yes or no if you can do that. You would agree with me that your brother Brian Albert only moved from Canton after John O'Keefe was found dead on his front lawn?
Objection.
Can you answer that? Can you answer that?
Yeah, I just don't understand the phrase.
But with everything you've said,
moved.
there's way too many weird inconsistencies in this entire fucking thing. Why all the lying? Why all the lying by the professionals, by the EMTs, by the police, and lies between the couple today, Chris Albert and his wife here, Julie? Like what? Why all the lying and the contradictions in statements? And I can understand memories being terrible years later, but we have completely different statements happening. Essentially, we have them doing an initial police report, talking to the grand jury, and now testimony that are all not exactly lining up.
He moved shortly after that.
Why?
Yes.
Your brother Tim Albert lives with your parents in Canton, correct?
Correct.
And Tim Albert and your parents live directly across the street from the Canton Police Department, correct?
Correct.
Do you know whom they bought that house from?
Objection.
The objection sustained.
But you still live in Canton
Correct.
with your wife, Julie Albert,
Correct.
and your son, Colin Albert, correct?
Along
It
with
makes
my
no
other two
sense.
sons, yes.
Like,
And you would agree that your entire family has deep roots in the town of Canton.
and I know Dan was saying this earlier as well. I don't think that the defense necessarily nailed this one today. I mean, there's still some more, and they got cut off at the very end when they were supposed to be, I guess, going to 1, and then right about 12:30, fucking Bev Darth Bev shut the son of a bitch down. But I mean, it wasn't the greatest day, especially for what I thought we were going to be getting. But I mean, again, there's inconsistencies even in the two different stories that we got about the time period that they initially found out about John's death.
I guess.
You would agree with me that the Albert family is well known in the town of Canton.
We have a big family.
And you would agree with me that the Albert family is a powerful family in the town of Canton.
Objection.
Sustained.
As a town selectman, you have some power, do you not?
I'm one of 5 selectmen.
And as a police detective, Kevin Albert has some power, does he not?
Objection.
Sustained.
And you also have close friends on the Canton Police Department, do you not?
Objection.
I'll allow
I have some.
Now, you know that Massachusetts State Police Trooper Michael Proctor is the lead investigator on this case, correct?
I know that.
One of your wife's best friends is Michael Proctor's sister, Courtney Proctor, correct?
Objection.
that. Okay, that's sustained. You've got another witness you can ask that of, Mr. Yannetti.
You know Courtney Proctor, correct?
Objection.
Allowed.
Yes,
And you know her to be Michael Proctor's sister, correct?
that's correct.
You attended Michael Proctor's sister's wedding, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
Sure. Why don't you come over?
See if I can do a little speed up too here.
Well, let me tell you something, brother.
A Hulk Hogan promo. Long sidebar here. While we're sidebarring, shit, I'll let it play here for just a minute. But Jersey Jen came through with the $2 in the heels, showing some love for our hardworking Publicly Buzzed. Thank you so much, Jersey Jen. I hope you feel better. I saw in the chat she's not feeling great tonight. And oh shit, Jessica for Justice coming through with the 5 right behind it, so you don't have to sell feet pics yet for Gypsy's vet funds. Thank you so much. I appreciate the shit out of that. Thank you, Jessica. We're getting there though. I'm going to be opening an only Buzzed soon. Here we go.
I believe you testified, sir, that you've known Michael Proctor's sister for about 20 years.
Objection.
I don't think he said that, but we'll let that stand and then move on, please.
About 20 years. You testified.
Sure, if that's.
I believe, didn't you testify to that on direct examination just moments ago when Mr. Lally was asking you questions?
Objection, Your Honor.
Next question, Mr. Yannetti. Objection sustained.
She won't let him
How long
like.
have you known Michael Proctor for?
Like, I mean, I know Bob talked about it earlier, but the way Bev acts is fucking
I know
weird.
he's Courtney's
all
sister.
right? I have not
brother.
seen
I
anything
couldn't
like
tell you
this
exactly how long
before.
I've known him for.
About 15 years or so?
It makes it feel extra fucking
Who is Kenneth
slimy
Rhodes?
The former
and just gives the fuel for conspiracy theorists like me.
Canton police chief.
And how do you know him?
His son and my son, the same age. So they played on some sports teams when they were younger together. I think that's when I first came to know Ken.
You became friendly with him.
I became friendly with him, sure.
And how would you characterize your relationship with him?
Friends?
You've seen him socially.
Really?
You've been out for drinks with him.
I think maybe once.
And you've known him for how long?
20 plus years.
And you say you've only been out with him for drinks one time in those 20 years?
I can't even remember if it was with drinks one time. Yeah, no.
What other types of activities have you done together?
I can't think of any. I think he came to an event that I held one time. That's about it.
Have you been out with him in a group setting?
That event that I just mentioned, yeah.
And what event was that?
It was my campaign event when I was running for select board.
He was one of your supporters.
He came by.
Did he donate money to your campaign?
I think he did.
May we approach, Judge?
Yes.
On the screen, and I'd ask to display. Sir, I'm going to display a photograph with the court's permission on the screen, and I'd ask you to take a look at it, and if you can let the jury
Do you have a
know.
hard copy of it?
Yes, we do have a hard copy.
So why don't you show it to the witness and put it in
Happy to do that.
evidence?
Thank you, Ron.
Okay? And we'll take that into evidence and then,
That makes sense. May I approach, Judge?
yes.
Okay, sir, I've handed you a photograph. Do you recognize what that depicts?
Yes.
What does it depict?
Me and Kenny Berkowitz.
And is that a fair and accurate representation of you and Kenny Berkowitz?
You mean is the picture us?
Yes.
Yes.
I would offer that, Your Honor.
Okay?
Oh, wait.
You get 55.
May that be published to the jury on the screen, Your Honor?
Sure.
So, Mr. Albert, that's obviously you on the right and Kenny Berkowitz on the left.
Correct.
Have you seen that photo before?
I believe I've seen it.
Do you recall when?
I believe that's my fundraiser for when I was running for the select board, that event that I spoke of earlier.
Okay. And when would it have been that you saw that photograph?
I'm not sure. I don't know if it was on my Facebook page when I was running for select board. It looks familiar.
Has Mr. Lally shown you that photograph?
No.
Has he informed you that the defense would be introducing that photograph during this trial?
Nope.
You can take the photo down, Mr. Hayes. And the lights come on. You would agree with me that one of your functions as a selectman is to oversee public safety in the town?
Yes.
And you would agree that the police department is a key component of public safety in the town of Canton?
Yes.
So part of your duties as a town selectman is to oversee the Canton Police Department, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'll let him have it. Is that one of your duties, sir?
I'll let him have it.
I'm recently elected, so I'm just going through it. But yeah, I believe so.
And you became a town selectman shortly after Kenny Berkowitz retired, correct?
I'm not sure when Kenny retired.
But you would agree with me that Kenny Berkowitz has both personal and professional relationships with you and members of your family, correct?
Can you rephrase that?
You would agree with me that the former Canton police chief, Kenny Berkowitz, has both personal and professional relationships with you and members of your family?
Objection, Your Honor. It's the same question.
Go ahead and answer that question.
I'm not sure. I agree with that question.
Well, your brother Kevin Albert worked under Chief Berkowitz, correct?
Correct.
Would you consider that to be a professional relationship?
With them too, yes.
And your brother Brian Albert attended Chief Berkowitz's retirement party, did he not?
I have no idea.
But your brother Brian is also a friend of Kenny Berkowitz, is he not?
He may be. Not sure.
And as far as your ties to the Canton Police, you would agree with me that Lieutenant Michael Blank is a member of the Canton Police Department, correct?
He is.
And you've been friends with him for years, correct?
I've known him for a long time.
You've been childhood friends with him since the age of 12, correct?
Somewhere around there. Maybe earlier.
And you're tight with him.
I don't know if I call it tight.
He's not an enemy of yours, is he?
Oh, God, no.
No, he's a friend of yours, correct?
Sure.
And does sure mean yes?
Yes.
Now, your older brother, Brian, you've already testified, was a Boston police officer for years, correct?
Correct.
And he achieved some notoriety on a television show, did he not?
Objection.
Okay.
He was in the fugitive unit?
Correct.
And you know that your brother Brian was also a trained boxer, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Brian is a lot bigger guy than you are, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Your brother Brian Albert is someone who is close to his family, correct?
Yes.
And when I say his family, I'm talking about not just his wife and children, but also his extended family, correct?
Yes.
You were part of his family, obviously, correct?
Yes.
And your son Colin is part of his family, correct?
Yes.
The Albert family is close, correct?
Yes.
You all essentially grew up in Canton, correct?
Correct.
And you hung out with each other growing up, correct?
We were siblings, so
Of course.
yes.
And you still hang out with each other quite often, correct?
Like all of us,
In various combinations.
we have different relationships with my siblings.
Sure. but you see some more than others, but you hang out with your family, do you not?
Yeah, mostly during holidays.
And you go out for drinks together, correct?
Occasionally,
And you're protective of each other, correct?
like most families.
And if someone had a dispute with a member of the Albert family, Brian wouldn't be happy about that, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
You know that Brian would stick up for your kids, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Your son Colin is particularly close to your brother Brian, is he not?
Objection.
I'll let him have that. Do you know?
Yes.
In fact, your son Colin was a football player through high school, was he not?
Yes.
What was his number?
In high school,
Yes.
34, I believe.
And was that for 34 Fairview?
I don't think so.
Now, you testified you moved to Maple Street in Canton not long before January 28th of 2022, correct?
Correct.
And before that, you lived at 7 Meadows Ave in Canton?
Correct.
And that was when John O'Keefe was your neighbor, correct?
Correct.
I believe you testified he was a couple of houses away from you?
Yes.
And he was your neighbor for a series of years, was he not?
Yes.
While he was living in the neighborhood, you knew that he was working as a Boston police officer, correct?
Correct.
And you were familiar with him, correct?
And what do you mean? What do you mean familiar?
You knew who he was. You know, you became familiar with
Yeah, he
him.
was my neighbor. I knew who he was.
And you knew that he was not married, correct?
Yes.
And at a certain point, you knew that he was dating Karen Reed.
Yeah, at some point.
Now, you would agree with me that your family has a police background, sir, correct?
I wouldn't agree with that statement.
2 of your brothers are or were police officers, correct?
Out of 7 of us, yes.
And you knew friends of your brothers who were also police officers or in law enforcement, correct?
Correct.
And you had already testified that you know some members of the Canton Police Department, correct?
Correct.
And you socialized with police officers, did you not?
Have I? Sure.
You've been to bars with police officers, correct?
Correct.
And you drank with police officers, right?
Sure.
And you were friendly with police officers, correct?
Yes.
And with regard to, I'd like to ask you some questions about people specifically connected to this case. We've established that Lieutenant Lank has been a friend of yours for years, correct?
Yes.
We've established that you know former police chief Kenneth Berkowitz in such a way that you feel comfortable calling him before this jury Kenny Berkowitz, correct?
I know Kenny. Yep.
And he's actually donated to your campaign when you were running for town selectman, correct?
I know Kenny.
And you
So
also
Kenny.
knew Michael Proctor prior to January
So
29th,
Kenny boy.
2022, correct?
Correct.
You've attended social events together with him, have you not?
Objection.
I'll let that one question.
Couple.
So, at some point, Michael Proctor came to question you, did he not?
Along with another trooper. Correct.
And at the point in time when Michael Proctor came to question you, you knew who he was, correct?
Yes.
You knew him by face, correct?
Correct.
And you knew him by name, correct?
Correct.
There was no need for Michael Proctor to formally introduce himself to you, was there?
Objection.
Sustained.
What did he say when he first walked in the door in terms of introductions?
Objection.
Sustained.
May we be seen as that?
Sure.
Without getting into the precise wording, you'd agree with me that there was no need for Michael Proctor to formally introduce himself to you for that meeting, correct?
Yes.
He didn't need to say, "How do you do? I am Michael Proctor," correct?
No.
No. Do you consider the Proctors to be the Albert second family?
Objection.
Do you consider that?
No.
You are aware that there are members of the Proctors family who have posted publicly that the Alberts
Objection, Your
are the
Honor.
second family, correct?
So the objection is sustained, and I'm striking that question. Disregard.
Now, at the time that Trooper Michael Proctor showed up to question you, sir, you knew that Karen Reed had been charged in this case, correct?
Yes.
And you knew that John O'Keefe had been found dead on your brother's lawn, correct?
Correct.
Did it occur to you that it was odd that the state police sent somebody from the Proctor family to interview you
Objection, Your Honor.
on February 10th of 2022?
Sustained.
All right. Now, you've testified that on January 28th of 2022, that day, that Friday that you were working, John O'Keefe stopped into D&E Pizza, your shop, correct?
Correct.
And there was discussion about whether you would be going out that night, and if so, where you would be, correct?
Correct.
Now, you've previously, on direct examination, characterized your relationship with him as being friends, correct?
Correct.
It's fair to say, however, that prior to January 28th of 2022, you had never exchanged personal information with John O'Keefe, correct?
You mean, I'm sorry, you mean like phone numbers or, but,
A cell number prior to that day.
no, I didn't.
And at that point in time, he had lived in your neighborhood for 4 to 5 years, correct?
Correct.
Welcome in, everybody.
I believe you've testified.
Thanks for hanging out. Gail, thank you so much. 20 bucks. Let's go.
10 minutes to 10 p.m.
Roughly.
Before going out, did you have anything alcoholic to drink?
Think I may have had a beer at my pizza shop. I don't remember exactly.
So you have a refrigerator there that you can keep drinks cold, correct?
Among other things.
He just has a little drink, you know, he's cleaning up. That's the life.
Beers in that fridge? For
Sometimes.
Personal use?
Sometimes.
You know.
Do you know how many beers that you would have had before going out?
No.
And would you have drank that
Yeah,
beer
let's
as you were
shotgun
cleaning
some
up at the end of
beers.
the night?
Before we go to the bar, boys.
Did you have anything to eat at the pizza shop?
No.
When did you last eat before you went out at 9:50 or so?
When did I last eat?
Yes.
It's a long time ago. I'm not sure.
Dude, I would literally be like
And you
that
knew
the
that your
entire
wife
time.
Julie
I can't
was starting the
remember
night at CF
yesterday.
Apartments, correct?
Like, you know what? And then you think
you
about
were-
like traumatic events that surround those memories, right? That's a point too, because anything that's traumatic that happens to me, you know, you can kind of remember those days, especially like even events that affect everybody, like 9/11, for instance, and people that remember Kennedy getting assassinated and so on and so on. Things like that stick with people. But stuff personally in your life, especially something like this, a murder, someone ends up dead on your brother's lawn. I feel like I would remember that day and the events pretty well.
You
So I
were
don't know.
there because you were still working, right?
Correct.
But at some point you heard that Julie and others were headed to the waterfall, correct?
Yes.
And that was where you planned to go after you closed up D&E Pizza.
Correct.
With regard to the time that you left, 9:50 or so is your best estimate of when you're closing the doors and walking over to the waterfall?
Yes.
And the waterfall is a short walk to D&E Pizza,
Yes.
maybe about 3 minutes?
About that.
And your plan was to walk there that night, correct?
Correct.
You had not taken a car to D&E Pizza anyway, right?
I don't believe so.
So what time did you get to the waterfall?
Shortly before 10. I don't know exactly.
All right. And I believe you've testified that John O'Keefe and Karen Reed were not there when you arrived, right?
Correct.
And the food that you ordered, do you remember what appetizers you would have gotten?
Probably like potato skins and some sort of chicken tenders. I would
Love
guess it's 2
potato
years ago,
skins,
so I don't
bro.
remember exactly.
And did you order a drink
Like,
along with the
give me
appetizers?
them tater
I believe
skins.
so.
All right, and that would have been the Miller Lite that you talked about?
Side of
Correct.
ranch.
Then
Blue
not
cheese,
long
what do you
after
want,
you
bro?
got there, Brian Albert and Brian...
Blue cheese and go fuck
showed up,
yourself.
Correct.
correct? And you had met Brian Higgins prior to that night.
Yes.
In fact, you had testified that you had seen him around quite a bit, correct?
A few times.
And you knew him, I believe your testimony was, from him working inside the Canton police station, correct?
I knew that he worked there.
That's right. We did learn
Did you
that.
testify
I'd
in
actually
direct
forgotten that.
examination, quote, I knew him from working inside Canton PD.
Yes.
Been through some shit.
And you've been inside Canton Police.
Seen some
correct?
shit.
Maybe twice in my life.
They seen some shit out here, boys.
You knew that Brian Albert, your brother, and Brian Higgins were friends, correct?
I knew they knew each other.
So are you saying that they were acquaintances?
No, no, I guess they're friends.
You guess they're friends?
Yeah, they're friends.
Was there something confusing about my question the first time I asked it?
Objection, Your Honor.
In any case, would you agree that shortly before Brian Albert and Brian Higgins arrived at the waterfall, or shortly after they did, there was a couple whom...
In this corner.
I believe you called them a Greek couple because their last name is difficult to pronounce for everybody. But do you remember them being there?
Yes.
All right. If I mention the name Kolakithis, does that ring a bell? Or do you...
That's them, yeah.
That's them, okay. And the whole group was either standing or sitting around a high-top table?
Correct.
And at 9:45 p.m., you texted John O'Keefe while you were at the waterfall, correct?
Correct.
Would you agree with me that the language of your text was, quote, "Get over here or I'll fuck up your lawn," end quote?
That was one of the texts.
I'll make just a moment. May I approach?
Sure.
It would suck to be having some like allergies, bro. In the morning, I'm fucked. Like,
Just say you.
I can't do what?
Okay. I'm sorry, I don't think I asked to approach.
Good, that's fine.
Thank you. I've placed a document before you, sir. Take a look at that and tell the jury whether or not you recognize it.
Yeah, I recognize it.
What is it?
It's a text message. 2 text messages.
Okay. And who are the participants in that text message exchange?
Me and John.
And what is it that you said and at what time?
So the first one.
Okay. Come on over.
I don't really like. I don't know. Why would I get the number that day? I don't talk to anybody via text. Anybody. It's all pretty much Facebook Messenger if we're going to communicate in like actual life. That is odd.
You must first find that it's more likely true than not true that the person who either authored or sent or created or transmitted the communication was in fact John O'Keefe and this witness, Chris Albert. If you do not find that it's more likely true than not that John O'Keefe sent one or that this witness was the person who sent the message or transmitted it, then you may not consider it in deciding this case. So you have clarification a bit, Mr. Yannetti, at this point?
I do, yes. And just for the record and for the juror's edification, this is part of Exhibit 48, which is already in evidence. But I would ask that this particular exchange be posted on the screen with the court's permission.
Sure.
Okay. And so you'd agree that when you say it was 2 text messages, they're both with regard to the same subject, correct?
What do you mean? I don't follow you.
It says "get over here," right? And then the second is a continuation of that. If not, I'm going to fuck up your lawn, correct?
So you mean that's to tell him to come over to the waterfall?
Right.
Okay, I just didn't understand what you meant.
That's fine. So you're telling John O'Keefe this, correct?
Yeah, I'm telling him to come over and meet us.
All right. And that little emoji, that face emoji after, if not, I'm going to fuck up your lawn, that's...
Yeah, it's a laughing face.
Right, so you're...
It's a joke.
Saying you're cracking up.
Yeah, it's a joke.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay.
Apologize.
Okay, well, we can take that down. At about 10:45 p.m. or so, I believe you testified that was when John O'Keefe walked into the bar with his girlfriend, Karen Reed.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Would you agree with me that between the time you arrived and the time you eventually left, that you did go up to the bar within that establishment a few times?
I'm sure he did.
And bought 2 rounds of drinks?
I'm sure.
Including that 1 round of fireball shots?
Correct.
What was the state of your sobriety when John and Karen arrived?
Probably fine. Fine.
You didn't feel like intoxicated
No.
or unable to, perceive what's going on. You were still in control of your faculties?
Yes.
And is it true that after John and Karen arrived that your wife, Julie, didn't want to stay any longer or too much longer?
She didn't want to. She had a headache, so she wanted to go home.
Right. And by that point in time, you had been there about an hour, maybe a little less?
When Karen and John arrived?
Right.
Yeah, about an hour.
And you were having fun?
Sure.
And so Julie drove home, but you stayed, correct?
Correct.
All right. And in terms of Karen Reed's drinking, as far as you could see, she had that glass that she came in with.
Yo, Kat, what's
that
up?
appeared to have a clear liquid in it, correct?
Correct.
And I believe you said either a lime or a lemon?
Thought I said a line,
shit.
but yep.
Okay.
That'll be interesting, Drew.
And you assumed that was, vodka and soda water or vodka in some type of mixer, correct? That was clear?
Correct.
And if she was, while drinking that night, if she was mixing in water in between alcoholic drinks, it would have been impossible for you to discern which drinks were water and which drinks were vodka, correct?
Yeah, I would have no idea.
You can't tell that by eyeballing a drink, right?
No.
Because both liquids are clear.
Yes.
And in order to discern that, you'd actually have to be given a sip to see, right? Okay. But in any case, Karen did not appear to be under the influence of alcohol to you.
I didn't notice anything.
She wasn't stumbling, correct?
Nope.
She wasn't swaying.
I didn't notice.
She didn't appear to be unbalanced, correct?
I didn't notice anything.
She wasn't slurring her words.
Nope.
She wasn't talking gibberish, correct?
No.
She was engaging in normal conversation and she appeared to be under control.
Yeah.
And would you agree with me that she also appeared to be affectionate with John O'Keefe?
I wasn't really watching their interactions too much, to be honest.
But in any case, you never saw any arguing between the two of them.
I wasn't really paying attention to their
And you
interactions.
You didn't perceive any tension between them, correct?
I didn't notice anything irregular.
Okay. And from your observations of Karen Reed that night, and you were there probably over 2 hours, were you not?
Total? About that, yeah.
From your observations of Karen that night, you would have had no problem with her driving a car, correct?
I wouldn't even have thought about it.
Okay. Now, would you agree with me that of the group that you had met out, that you were the last person to leave the waterfall on January 29th of 2022?
I believe so.
Now, you you testified on direct examination today, I believe, that you thought you got home between 12:05 and 12:10 a.m. on January 29th, correct?
That's what I remember.
If I suggested to you that you didn't even leave the bar until 12:13 a.m., would you quarrel with that?
Would I quarrel with it?
Yes.
No, I guess not. I mean,
Right. And is your memory exhausted as to the precise time that you left the bar?
is it exhausted?
Right. In other words, do you not remember the precise time that you left the bar that early morning?
It's over 2 years ago. I don't know the precise time.
Right.
That's why I said between 12:05 and 12:10.
That answers my question. Thank you. Could we have Exhibit 50, well, with the court's permission, can I publish Exhibit 53? It's a short clip from the waterfall. Sure. I think we need to back it up. It's started.
Thanks, Gil. You're amazing.
If we could pause it for a second, please. Mr. Robert, you would agree with me, this was clearly the end of the night?
Sure.
The lights are
Sure.
all on at this point?
Yes.
Sure.
The bar appears
Sure.
to have largely emptied out?
Sure.
Yes.
Continue,
Sure.
please.
Sure. Sure, Pilgrim.
Pause it.
Truck, good
There we
boy.
go. My co-counsel is much better at this than I. Do you know who that person is who's leaving the bar at this point at 12:13 and 43 a.m.?
Christina, it might be better without that spotlight.
Okay.
See it now?
That's fine.
Yeah. I believe it's me.
Continue, please. Okay. You can take that off the screen. So, having now viewed that video with the timestamp of 12:13 and about 43 seconds or so, does that refresh your memory as to when you left the waterfall?
Yes.
That would mean it would have been impossible for you to get home to Maple Street by 12:05 or 12:10, correct?
Correct.
Now, it was about maybe a 7-minute walk home. Would you agree with me?
From Waterfall to Maple? No, I said 7 minutes from D&E to Waterfall. Waterfall to Maple is probably less than 5 minutes.
So it's your testimony that D&E is closer to the waterfall than the waterfall is to Maple Street?
D&E's farther away from Waterfall than farther away from where I live than Waterfall is.
I understand.
Oh, I don't follow you. I'm sorry.
I'll try to clarify. I don't
hadn't
mean
followed
to be
me there.
confusing here.
It's fine.
I'm not asking about the distance between D&E
very
and
confusing.
your home. I'm trying to compare, or ask you to compare, the distance between D&E and the waterfall, and then the waterfall. And
You're the best,
You see the
Gil. You're
difference?
crazy.
I think so.
Would you agree with me that your home is farther from the waterfall than D&E Pizza is from the waterfall?
I don't follow you. I'm sorry.
Okay, so let's take it step by step. D&E Pizza to the waterfall, are they on the same street?
Yes.
How many establishments, if you know, are between D&E Pizza and the waterfall?
Just a few.
Okay, so it's a very short walk from
Yes.
D&E Pizza to the waterfall,
Yes.
correct? Your home on Maple Street is not on the same street as the waterfall, correct?
It's off of the same street.
But it's not on the same street.
No.
And your home on Maple Street is farther from the waterfall than D&E Pizza is to the waterfall. Is it
Correct.
not?
Correct.
Okay.
I didn't understand it earlier.
No, I know it. I'm trying to work through this because, I'm not trying to trick you here. I just want to get the answer. So you would agree with me that it would take you longer to walk home from the waterfall than it would take you to walk to the waterfall from D&E Pizza?
Correct.
All right. And I believe you said that one walk was 7 minutes and one walk was maybe less than 5 minutes, correct?
Yes.
All right. The 7-minute walk would have been the walk home as opposed to the walk to the waterfall, correct?
Yes.
All right. So you have agreed that you left the bar at 12:13, almost 12:14, according to the video, and it would have taken you about 7 minutes to walk home, correct?
Not exactly sure how. I
Can I
think
see Councilor Tyler for just a second, please?
Just for a moment. We need a sidebar. Yo, welcome in here, everybody coming through. Looks like some people made it through from Defense Diaries. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Please hit that like, share her out. Come to Hang and Bang, baby. We're currently about probably halfway through Chris Albert's testimony today on Cross. What is your opinion? Huh? What are your thoughts on the Karen Reed trial and the chaos ensuing all over X?
Thank you.
It's been pointed out to me that I think we're not making the connection here, and I think it might be my fault. With regard to the timing of how long it took you to go home, I believe your best estimate is about 5 minutes? Is that your testimony? And when I say home, I'm not talking about from D&E Pizza. I'm talking about that early morning when you're at the waterfall.
I understand. Yeah. I'd say around 5 minutes, I think, from the waterfall to Maple Street.
Fair enough. So now, if you're leaving the bar at like close to 12:14, as indicated on the video, you're getting home somewhere around 12:19, 12:20, correct?
Roughly, yeah.
And what were you wearing that night?
Blue jeans, sneakers, I think, and a sweatshirt.
Okay. And it had started to snow by that point.
A little bit.
So the ground was a little bit either slushy or wet.
Not slushy, but could have been wet.
Could have been wet. And the snow had not yet started to accumulate, or had it?
It didn't start. No.
All right. So you're walking home, but it was cold, correct?
Correct.
And would you agree that in the best case scenario, you might have had a little bit more clothing on for that cold walk home?
I think I had a sweatshirt on.
Right, but you could have used something else, right?
Oh, probably.
In light of the weather?
Probably.
All right, because you testified that by the time you got home, you were pretty cold, right?
Correct.
You hadn't, if it had been
welcome
about
in,
a 5-minute
everybody. Thanks for
walk,
coming.
That was enough time for you to walk in almost shivering, correct?
Sure.
And given that there was precipitation, the snow had started, the sweatshirt would absorb the moisture as opposed to repel it, correct?
Sure.
And so you were wet as well when you walked in, right?
Sure.
And by that point in time, you were tired, correct?
I don't remember if I was tired, but
Okay.
I don't remember if I was tired at that point.
Okay. You had worked all day
Correct.
till late in the day, actually into the evening, correct?
Correct.
Taking pizzas in and out of a hot oven,
Correct.
as well as other food that you serve as well, correct?
Yep.
And you're now, and by the way, you had a couple of drinks or a few drinks, whatever it was, at the waterfall, correct?
Correct.
And you decided not to go to your brother Brian Albert's house, correct?
Correct.
That was in part because you weren't up for the continued partying at that point, correct?
Yeah, I just wanted to go home.
Right. And so when you got home, would you agree with me that your first priority would have been getting out of the wet clothes that you were in?
Correct.
And where would you have done that within your
In
home?
my bedroom.
And is this a townhouse? Or is it a freestanding residence?
It's a condominium.
Condominium? How many floors?
There's 3 floors.
And your bedroom's on the top floor?
Correct.
And the entrance is ground level?
Correct.
When you first entered the home in those wet clothes, where was your wife, Julie?
Upstairs in the bedroom.
And was she already washed up and ready for bed?
She was lying in bed.
And where did
We
you
don't
go
we
when
don't
you
bathe,
walked in the ground
sir.
level?
What do you
went up
mean?
to the bedroom.
Washed
All right.
up and ready for
Took off my
bed.
clothes, jumped in bed.
All right. And do you have a master bath with regard to your bedroom?
There's a bathroom, yeah.
All right. That would have been where you brushed your teeth
Yeah.
and washed up?
But I did. That's where I would do those things, but I didn't do that.
You
those
didn't do
things.
either of those?
No.
Okay. Did you grab a drink of water before you went to bed?
Nope.
All right. So you essentially came home, and I think we agreed it was around 12:20 or so, give or take a minute.
Roughly.
And you made a beeline for your bedroom.
Correct.
Did you fall asleep shortly
Keep me
thereafter?
his eyebrows make me uncomfortable.
Soon
What
after.
is happening?
Within 5 minutes or so? 10 minutes?
I started to doze off.
Hold up. Hold up.
Yo.
Hold up.
All right. All right.
I don't know exactly how soon after I fell asleep.
All right. Sometime within 5 or 10 minutes, would you say?
I would say more like within 15 minutes.
15 minutes, okay. So with regard to getting home, and we'll call it 12:19, because I think that's more consistent with what you said, and understanding that it's just an estimate. If you're walking in the door at 12:19, it takes you maybe a minute to get upstairs.
About a minute.
You kicked off your sneakers downstairs, I imagine?
Maybe. I don't remember. That was a long time ago.
Okay, and then you walked up 2 flights of stairs, right?
Probably ran up the stairs because I was cold.
Okay, all right. So you're getting up there around 12:20 or so, correct?
Roughly, yeah.
And you believe that you dozed off about 15 minutes later, which would have made it about 12:35?
Somewhere around there.
All right. Now, when you came home, you would agree with me that your son, Colin Albert, was not home, correct?
Not when I first got home.
And in fact, I think your testimony was that 10 minutes after you got home, he opened the bedroom door.
I think that's what I said, yeah.
Do you want to stick with that?
I'm just trying to recollect what thinking it over, so obviously it was a little bit longer.
Because you actually woke up when he opened the bedroom door, correct?
I don't think so.
Did you not just testify before this jury just, I don't know, maybe an hour ago, that you fell asleep and that your son, Colin, opened the bedroom door and woke you up to say goodnight?
Yeah, I guess that's what I said.
Okay. And when you testified to that on direct examination, that was when Mr. Lally was asking you questions, correct?
Correct.
And you knew that you were under oath at that time, correct?
Correct.
And you were trying to be as accurate as possible, correct?
Trying to be, correct.
All right. So in terms of the timing of this, assuming that he opened the bedroom door after you already fell asleep, If you're getting home upstairs to your bedroom around 12:20 and it takes you 15 minutes to go to bed, and that's around 12:35, then sometime after you're asleep, after 12:35, that's when Colin opens the bedroom door, correct?
I don't remember exactly.
Well, it's difficult for you to remember how long you'd been asleep for when Colin opened the bedroom door, correct?
Correct.
You don't know if it was 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or longer, correct?
I don't know exactly.
Right. But it was sometime after you fell asleep.
To the best of my recollection.
Now, with regard to your son, Colin, he obviously lived in the same neighborhood as John O'Keefe, because that's where your family lives, correct?
Correct.
And back in 2022, Colin Albert was 17 years old?
Correct. Out of the year.
And
Yeah,
you
this
knew
is
that,
Chris Albert,
like
Carly.
most teenagers, Colin drank alcohol with his buddies, correct?
Correct.
Can you explain for the jury who or what is Nevercracker?
What is Nevercracker?
Yes,
Like the character?
that's what I'm asking.
It's a character in a cartoon called Monster House.
And would you agree with me that Nevercracker in the movie Monster House was this kind of old curmudgeon who didn't want anybody on his lawn, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I can totally
He was
see
the get
him
off my
looking
lawn
like
guy,
this dude
correct?
right here.
In the movie, yeah.
What was your nickname and your wife Julie's nickname for John O'Keefe?
Yep.
Mr. Nevercracker.
All right. And your wife Julie actually had
Tiff
John
nailed
O'Keefe
it.
plugged into his contacts as Nevercracker, correct?
Correct.
Wooly Willie,
In fact,
aka
you were there one
Chris
time when
Albert.
Julie showed Karen Reed, her phone to show how John O'Keefe was plugged in as Nevercracker, correct?
I believe so.
And this whole nickname started because of a conflict that Colin Albert had with John O'Keefe.
Not correct.
John O'Keefe complained to you about things that Colin was doing.
Not correct.
He would tell you that Colin used to throw beer cans or beer bottles in his bushes, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
So you can answer that. What's your answer?
That is not correct.
John O'Keefe told you that Colin used to flip him off, correct?
Not correct.
And say F you to him.
Not correct.
Colin used to cut through
Never.
his
Nope, that was Dylan.
yard. You knew that John didn't like people cutting through his yard, correct?
No, I don't know that to be true.
Okay. So is it your testimony that John O'Keefe...
But I mean, that's a lie because he was already teasing him, whichever side you take, whether he was bullying him or they're just butting around. He knows that bothers him. So that was a lie for
His
sure.
lawn all the time?
I don't understand. Is that a question?
It was a question. I guess let me withdraw that and ask this. If John O'Keefe is Nevercracker, and he's the get off your lawn guy, are you denying that he doesn't like people cutting through his lawn?
Do you want me to, can I explain?
I just asked for an answer to my question. Mr. Lally will get up after I'm done, and I'm sure you can explain whatever you want.
So no, he's not no.
All right. Well, you would agree with me that there was a time when John O'Keefe was not home that you and your wife Julie went to his house.
That is correct.
And you entered onto his property, correct?
On his front property, yes.
And you had drinks in your hand.
Correct.
And you thought it would be funny to have a photo taken of you and your wife with drinks in your hand on his property, correct?
Correct.
And you knew it would be funny because you knew it would annoy him, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
Oh, you can go ahead. Can you answer that?
Yeah, he was actually asking us to watch his house while he was away.
Right, but that doesn't answer my question, which was he didn't ask you to go onto his property with drinks in your hand and take a photo, correct?
I'd like to see that. I'd like to see where that came about. Like, when did he ask them to watch his house? How did that? You wouldn't ask somebody you actually don't like, whether you have to be nice to them or not, because of your situation in life, whether that's your job or your fucking neighbor. I still wouldn't be like, hey, neighbor that I fucking actually hate, that's always teasing me and bullying me, watch my house. Like, that seems strange.
Okay.
Like, where does
But
that coming
again,
from?
In answer to my question,
Is that just Chris Albert
the
saying
answer is
it?
no,
Is that
he
all
did
that's
not
coming
ask us
from?
to go on his property and
That
take
would
pictures
be
of
some
ourselves
bullshit.
with drinks in our hand, correct?
Yeah, he didn't ask me to send him a photo.
Karen Reed, what's happening?
And you would agree with me that Nevercracker wouldn't like a photo of somebody on his lawn with drinks in their hands, correct?
The cartoon character, Nevercracker?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained. Next question, please,
Yes.
Mr. Nutty.
I have the photo. May I approach?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Albert, I placed 2 photographs before you. If you could take a look at those and tell the jury if you recognize what they depict.
I do.
What do those photos depict?
It's me and my wife straddling John's fence. We're giving a thumbs up in one of them and a smile in another one.
Okay. And you say John's fence, so that's actually on John's property, correct?
Part of it is, yeah. I mean, I don't know what the easement is from the street to the fence as ownership goes, but yeah.
Right.
I know the town owns a certain.
Yeah, that's a very good point. If you
Would you
definitely
agree with
put
me
yourself
that
in the
photo was
jury's
taken in
position.
April of 2021?
I'm not sure when it was taken, but if that's what you have for a date, then it's fine.
Okay. Who took that picture?
That's a good question. I have no idea.
Where was your son Colin that night when you had that picture taken?
I have no idea.
Facebook. You would send it on Facebook. I don't have anybody's phone number. I don't text anybody, and I bet the majority of people, you guys probably don't either, right? You find somebody on Facebook. That's how you would communicate. Even with a stranger, be like, let me find this new person that I just met. Oh, there they are. That's how I would do it.
That you texted those
I
photos,
keep seeing
or
the number
somebody texted
thing.
those
I
photos,
get
whether
that,
you
but
were to John O'Keefe?
Absolutely.
And offer those a fair and accurate representation of the photos that you took?
Yeah.
All right. I would offer those, Your Honor.
All right, any objection?
No, Your Honor.
And with the court's permission, may they be published for the jury?
Okay.
like who's using text to Facebook in the chat right now?
With regard to that,
Like, just as an
first photo,
example.
is
Maybe I'm
that-
wrong.
Well, first of all,
I'll put a
whose
poll.
house is that in the background?
That's John's.
And that is you on the right and your wife Julie on the left?
Correct.
We have the second photo, please. Okay.
But I can also see, that's why I want more context, dude. I can see this being bullying. If this man truly has had issues before, he knows that they fucking doesn't want people on his lawn. And then they're doing this, but I can't get over the part of if he actually asked them to watch their house, and this is what's happening while that's happening. Like, hey, we're watching your house, check it out. But also, is it, I can see the bullying argument. I can see both ways.
John's
I
house in
just
the background
also,
there?
Correct.
And again, that's you on the
Hello.
right and Julie on the left, correct?
Correct.
Okay, we can take that photo now.
I know they say texted, but I literally think that would go either way with Facebook messaging. Like, it's the same. Like, my mom would be like saying texting, and it would definitely be a message on Facebook. I just sent you a text, honey.
Now, would you agree with me that those photos give some context to the text that you sent him on?
But if you get technical and you're in a trial and and you're getting hammered, I'm saying text. I mean, I can also see it. I don't know. You want to get as technical as possible.
January
I get
28th,
it,
when you were
man.
trying to get him to come out, and you threatened to, quote, fuck up his lawn if he didn't come out that night.
All right, that's weird.
Context too.
Well,
I
in
missed
other
that
words,
part.
Here you are texting him photos of you and your wife on his lawn, correct?
Yes.
And that's a common theme that explains the January 28th text where you were threatening to fuck up his lawn, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
Okay. I just have one more area that I want to cover with you, sir. You previously confirmed that when you walked in your door on January 29th of 2022 after coming home from the waterfall, your son Colin was not home, correct?
It's correct.
At that time, you had no...
I know. I was hoping for something a little bit crazier.
where he had been that night, correct?
That's correct.
Since that time, you know that he was at your brother Brian's house that night, Brian Albert.
It's correct.
Your old home, correct?
Where I grew up, yep.
And you knew that address to be 34 Fairview Road.
Correct.
And you knew that that was the same house outside which John O'Keefe was found dead later that morning, correct?
Correct.
I may have a moment.
Sure.
I am. That's the truth. I'm actually more surprised than that than anything. Like, and if they were, that would be crazy shocking.
Just
But Also, I would be doing that. I mean, that was
When you spoke to Trooper Proctor
to a buddy.
on February 10th,
I'd be like, man,
of
fuck you, dude.
2022, you would agree with me that you never mentioned that Colin
fucking
Albert was at your
bitch.
brother Brian's house that night.
That's how I would be talking to my friend, my good friend.
Objection, Your Honor.
Oh,
I don't remember.
all right. Thank you. Redirect.
Yes, Your Honor.
I do want to see, where is that coming from? Is that specifically only from Chris Albert? Because if he just put that out there, and now that's a narrative that's in my head, right? It's fucking me up, man!
You were asked some questions about being a selectman. Were you a selectman at the time on January 28th?
Laura calling me out. Laura calling me the hell out.
About how long after that was it that you came?
Sometime in April that the election was over. April, second week in April, maybe?
So that photograph that you were shown with respect to yourself and the former Chief Berkowitz of the Kin Police, when was that?
It was a fundraiser, so it was probably like 2 or 3 weeks before the election. So January, February, March something, end of March maybe?
So well after January 28th, 2022?
Yes.
And you were asked some questions about your brother selling the house. Now, prior to your brother selling the house, you had sold your house, correct?
Correct.
And why was that?
Why was that?
Yeah.
It just made sense for us. You know, it was just a financial decision.
Kids were getting older, is that correct?
Yeah.
One was in the Navy.
Yep.
Another was about to go to college.
Correct.
And what, if any, relation did that have to your brother selling the house?
So once he found out that I was selling
Objection.
No, I'm going in.
once he found out I was selling my house, he decided that it might be a good idea for him to sell his house. His kids were getting older.
The weirdness
So I
is
gave him
what
my real
fucks me
estate's
all
number.
to hell. Like, even though I can rationalize some of the stuff, dude, there's so many things that I cannot fucking rationalize whatsoever. There's so much shit that makes zero sense. Nothing. None. So, no, I'm still deeply disturbed by everything that I've seen so far about how the investigation was actually conducted. And, yeah, there's no way that, even at this point, I mean, who knows what could happen? I'd still want to see the experts come in and weigh in. There's no fucking way that she did this shit on purpose. It's just insane that they would be even pushing that with the second-degree murder charge. But, I mean, the reasonable doubt right now is out of this world because of how this investigation's actually been handled. So, no, man. And honestly, I try to put some rationalization on it just to play devil's advocate, honestly, because I want to see the argument. But I don't know, man. This is a wild one. It's super interesting to me.
The guy who sold my house.
And
So much
that
more to
selling
go.
the house, was that something that you would discuss with your brother prior to January 28th, 2022?
Yeah, soon after.
Let's move on from that.
Here we go. Rex is on my side. Get in here, Rex.
Now, with regards,
Let's look at this poll. Hold on. Let's look at this poll. Okay, they murdered me on the poll. They killed me. Out of 36 votes, text demolished the Facebook Messenger. So I will concede, guys. You win.
with regard to your son Colin when he came home that night, you indicated that it was about 10 minutes after. Now, was that 10 minutes after you arrived home or 10 minutes after you got into bed?
10 minutes after I jumped into bed.
Now, with reference to your son Colin, he came home and saw him that night, correct?
When he came home?
Yes.
Yeah, he just leaned his head in the door.
And when he leaned his head in the door, did you, similar to what I had asked you about Mr. O'Keefe, did you observe any sort of injuries or anything like that to his face?
No.
Saw your son the next day as well?
Yes.
Did you observe any injuries to him at any point?
None.
In time? And you mentioned that you went over to your brother Brian Albert's house and both he and Mr. Higgins were there, correct?
Correct.
As far as your interactions with both Brian Albert and Brian
Fuck
Higgins,
yeah,
that
Carly
following day, what
Rooks.
any injuries did you observe on them that night?
None.
Now, with regard to the Nevercracker, what was sort of the origination of that?
It's a joke. It's so my son Dylan, who is my littlest one, he was cutting across John's lawn one day, coming home from the school, walking. This was before John had a fence that went this way, like on Pleasant Street. So it would just cut off like a couple of minutes. He ran across John's lawn one day. This is my littlest son, who I don't even know at the time. He might have been like 9, 10. I'm not sure exactly how old he was. And John yelled something to him, "Hey, kid, get off my lawn." So John was just making a joke. So Dylan got scared. He ran home and told my wife, Julie, and then Julie in turn called, called Jen maybe and said, "Hey, John just yelled at Dylan." And I think Jen reached out to John, and John felt terrible. And John came down the street. John asked what kind of candy Dylan liked, and John brought Dylan a bag of candy and just said, "Hey, I was just kidding." It was just, so from that point on, we called him Mr. Nevercracker, and it was a joke between John. John thought it was funny. And
I actually think that's a great explanation. Is it true? I don't know, but that was a pretty good explanation
As far
in the
as,
moment there.
Those photographs that you indicated that you took
I don't know.
on his
Have you
fence,
practiced
you
that?
sent to him when he was away, is that correct?
Correct.
That was after he'd asked you to watch his house
Yeah.
while he was away?
Yeah.
And how did he respond to those photographs?
He thought it was hilarious. We actually showed him other people that photo too. They thought it was funny.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up, Mr. Lamb.
One last question, Your Honor.
We wrap
So
this shit
after
up.
you
I'm tired of
received,
sitting here,
text
says
message as far
Bev.
as to come over here and then
Breathes
make
heavily
the
into the
reference
mic.
to his lawn. Mr. O'Keefe then came over to the lawn.
Yeah, he came over after.
Nothing further. Nothing further.
All right, you are all set, Mr. Albert. And
Thank you.
jurors, we're going to take a recess. It's not going to be just sitting there like a juror. It's not going to be too long. We're going to end at 12.
If the witness would just stay where you're
Yeah,
at.
please
Thank
stay
you.
there.
Sorry,
So
sorry.
that's okay. So-
Jurors, if you'd fold your notebooks, please sit on your chair.
Courtroom is chaos. Sit the fuck down. Sit the fuck down, Chris. You son of a bitch. We're not done with you yet. Tomorrow should be interesting. Are we getting Jen McCabe tomorrow? I see a lot of people talking about. I know they thought that could happen today. Tomorrow we got a full day though, so the possibility is super duper real tomorrow. So everyone hanging and banging here tonight, I appreciate the shit out of it. We will be live tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern time, same time frame. Tomorrow's night is Feral Friday. I'm not exactly sure what we're doing, but on Feral Fridays we hang out here on YouTube for about 30 minutes or so, and then we go over to another website called kick.com where we can do whatever the hell we want. We watch movies, we watch TV shows, we shoot the shit. Sometimes we have a party night and we just listen to music. You never know what might happen, but start your night either way here tomorrow on Feral Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern time. And Murder Church, ladies and gentlemen, I made a cool little thing over here. Murder Church, every Sunday, 9 a.m. Eastern time. We just started a new trial. Phil Spector. It's an insane trial. Alan Jackson is the prosecutor in this trial, and it is very interesting. Hollywood music mogul, man that worked with the Beatles, with the Ramones, created the Wall of Sound, created a whole sound in music and pop, murdered a B movie star, a lady that was down on her luck in the industry, started working a real job. He takes her back to her house. She ends up getting shot through her mouth and dies. And he is up and he's being prosecuted by Alan Jackson. Come through every Sunday morning. Come hang and bang here with Publicly Buzzed. We'd really, really appreciate it. I would really appreciate it. Tomorrow night, again, Feral Friday, we're going to do the damn thing. This thing, though, is going to keep on getting crazier and crazier and crazier. And we haven't even got to the experts yet. So who fucking knows, man? There's nothing but questions. Oh, guys, is that going to be tomorrow? That'd be crazy. So, I don't know. Let's get wild. Holly Berry knows. She knows what we do on Feral Friday. She knows. We come through and we don't. Yeah. Yeah. Also, tomorrow night I have something really cool happening. Okay. I forgot about that almost. Tomorrow night, Feral Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Dan's going to be joining me and something cool is going to be dropping tomorrow night. You're going to want to come through and check it out, folks. So, yes. Thanks a lot for giving me some of your time here tonight on Thursday. Appreciate it, guys. And yeah, tomorrow night, have a great Friday. Let's get into the weekend. But before we get there, we got one more day. I'll see you in the chats. Let's go.
This